Hello folks, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily TA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective, each day asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about tomorrow. We do that by looking at supply and demand on the charts, and we do it 4 times a week. Every day right here, TA Today, brought to you live from the Rocky Mountain base. Folks, you can email me, you can fax, not fax, but text me questions, this number. You can also just log in, get yourself a login on live stream. You can interact with me live on live stream. You can email me questions. If you have stocks you're in, stocks you're interested, general questions about the market, about whatever, as long as it's somewhat related, jot them to me and I'll take those calls, or basically those means of communication, and try to answer those questions for you. What happened today? Well, we actually got some selling on some earnings related issues today. Let's take a look at what we got here. Not huge damage. Matter of fact, all in all, as we're going to see here as we start flipping through the charts, charts actually held up pretty well. So industrials were the only ones down. They were down, well, not the only ones. They were down the most, down almost 0.4%, 65 points, 16,417. We had the S&Ps drop 2.5. 1845, roughly 1846 on the close. We had the NASDAQ inch up some more, 3.8, 421.8. So 4,218. They had the NDX up a point and a half, 3611.25, and the Russell actually got the biggest gain today, 1173, 11,073. Remember when it was 1,000? It was battling 1,000. Now we're like 170 points over that, 17% over it. Big moves. Gold eked out a small gain today. Looks like it's up a little bit after hours. Dollar is pretty flat. I didn't see huge movement. It looks like oil was down $1.25. Nothing big here. The biggest thing probably were the bonds, and we'll take a look at those charts. As far as what's happening in these markets, well, I didn't give you a phone number, did I? They're going to call me on the phone. I don't give out my phone number. All right, let's go back to the charts here. S&P 500. So if we look at the S&Ps today, what they actually did, the key area was here, right? You wanted to see it hold this area. And that's exactly what happened today. We got down on a price point just underneath yesterday's low. Yesterday's low was 1840.52. We got to 1840.30. So just under it. Volume shrinks, 37 versus 35. And it holds the key area. And what does that mean? Well, that means just things are going to flip around and go back up and try to test the top. And I suspect tomorrow you're going to see the listed issues try to outrun the OTC issues. In other words, S&P, Dow going to try to trade higher on a relative basis than the others. And I suspect that's going to be the case because after the bell, and we saw a big sell-off here in Intel. So Intel, let me see where it closed at after hours. Intel had reported earnings after hours today. They got hit pretty good, down about 5 or 6%, down 5%. $1.38, closed at 25.29. 25.29 is back under the big bar. So it's kind of funny in a way. It's never funny, right? But it's kind of sad, is probably the better word, that they issue. We had multiple firms come out and issue bullish higher targets on Intel. You got a big spike up 2 days, and then today, whoever bought those spikes are going to get hammered. And that's why you don't listen to these or at least why I don't listen to these so-called, sell side houses or buy side, depending on whatever side you're on. They go out, make these recommendations, people jump on things as a result of it. They get on the phones, call people up, get them to buy, and then something like this happens. Now maybe Intel will be fine. I mean, this isn't going to kill it, but it's just kind of sickening the way it works. So Intel, that's going to hit the chips, right? The chips got huge runs off of Intel. I would assume we get some of that come back tomorrow. Intel's going to be down. It's going to put pressure on the NDX because the NDX has a large weighting in the chips, and I expect the chips will probably sell down some on that. Let's go to the Dow. On the Dow, we actually had the down day today, but the Dow, just like the S&P, gets under the previous bar, right? Lighter volume. That thing's going to flip around, try to go the other way. The Russell now is just stretching. So is the NDX. So is the NASDAQ in general. So the Russell stretches to a new high. It's got this little tiny tail, a little small, very, very quiet day in the markets today. Stretches a little bit higher. That thing probably is going to come back in a little bit. It looks like maybe it stretches a little bit more, but you can see it's struggling to stretch. NDX over the highs. I think they actually got over it. Maybe they didn't. 36.15. No, they didn't. So they were inside day. Lighter volume, inside day. Nothing wrong with that. I guess it was the IXIC I was looking at that got over it. Yeah, and this gets over it. So the broader composite gets over it, closes at a higher. I think it got a higher high. 42.1869. No, 10 cents shy. So went over it, back under it, a little bit shy on volume, but it's really not that extended, so it doesn't, it's just an over-under. It's not a 2-bar reversal. So that's the major indexes. Looks like they're going to hang in the cases of the OTCs, push higher probably in the cases of the listed issues. Now I was flipping through the major sectors as we came on here to take a look and see what these guys look like. And so let's pop through these. So we had an earnings report last night out of CSX, down 7% today. You can see I don't like this chart. I don't like to see these kinds of setups, right, where all the bars to the downside have huge volume spikes. Right? Anytime you get volume to the, anytime you get a spike to the downside, the volume picks up. Anytime you move higher, smaller volume, right? Black bars down in here, red bars up in there somewhere, right? That's not a good scene. Now, that doesn't mean this thing will stop because of it, but it does mean that it's not as healthy as you'd like it to be. We have an ABCD structure on the way up still. It's trying to push up there and finish it. I don't know if it's going to get there or not. It's certainly trying. Big bar down today again off this CSX, but yet by the end of the day, still hanging. And isn't that the way this whole market is? No matter what hits it, somehow it hangs and hangs and finally goes up again. Gets, the bad days it just won't hardly come down. The good days it goes up. And that's a bull market. That's the way they work. So that one can come back down again tomorrow. SMHs. This is the one I was talking about earlier. I suspect you're going to see this get back in, do a retest, regen off of this bar. That will be tomorrow, and we'll see how it holds up. You had a huge bar up, big wide price spread, high volume. I doubt seriously, you got huge support in this area now. This is going to be hard to take out now. So if it came down that far, that might be a nice place to look at it if you're looking for something. XLB, the material sector, gold, materials in general working higher again. They're going to go back up and test the swing point high, it looks like. XLE can't get off the dime here, but it actually had an okay day today. It tested down, less volume. This thing wants to go higher. XLF. Now the XLF had gotten over the highs, and then they pulled back in today. They didn't have a swing point high up there because remember they stretched, right? You had a big bar up. You get underneath it today, right? So the volume dissipates as you come back up underneath this thing. All right, little test right there underneath it. Less volume. This thing's going to flip around, go back up, and that's despite the earnings that came out today. If you look at the earnings today, Citigroup down. It was down about, I think, 6% or so. I don't have the ending quote because they have after hours numbers up on my boards. Goldman Sachs down, not that much, 1.5%. AXP after hours down 1%. Tomorrow you really don't have much in the way of banks. You do have Morgan Stanley. Let's take a quick look at these two and see what they look like. So Morgan Stanley is going to be out tomorrow. This one just did a breakout over multiple swing points. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one try to extend higher tomorrow on the earnings. And GE's kind of a financial. It's an industrial primarily. Well, it's clear where the mark is here. This will be one to watch tomorrow. GE has a huge set of bars right there. And so what I'm looking at is I'm looking at this high volume bar, top of it, 27.47. I'm looking at wide price spread bar, 27.47. I'm looking at a swing point high, 27.50. 3 cents, 3 big bars, and that was nearly the bottom of the downdraft bar to start the year. So when I look at it from that perspective, that line is the line. If GE can pop up there, gap up over it, what does GE have? It's got an ABCD structure on the way up, get over major resistance, right? Well, actually it isn't an ABCD structure. It would just be extending. And it's not even an ABC yet. I mean, there's no B point yet. So, you know, if GE gaps up and holds a gap above here, that's going to take this whole market higher. It's going to try to, or it's certainly going to take the listed issues and push them higher. It's one of those stocks that you watch, right? Because it's in everything. You know, it's in the financials, it's in the industrials, it's in all kinds of things. It's just a big conglomerate. So it's a good benchmark stock, if you will. I got sidetracked. Oh, Bank Mellon is coming out tomorrow too. This is another big regional, and that one doesn't look nearly as healthy. I don't think that one's going anywhere. So it'll really be Morgan Stanley and GE probably tomorrow. We got one in the all sectors. This is in the ETF for the XLE. Schlumberger, it's one of the larger weightings in there. This is going to go higher. This is going to try to pop up here and test into this big downdraft bar from the 25th, it looks like. This will also be a good test tomorrow. If you may get some weakness to start with, but if it is, I expect they will buy it, and this thing will try to push back the other way. So earnings tomorrow look to me like they're set up to try to go higher. Let's look at the rest of these real quick. So the industrials, we kind of talked about it with GE. They didn't really do much today. They came down a little bit. They're just hanging up there in a tighter range. Technology, I believe, held up today. I didn't look at it. Yeah, inside day, nothing there. The one that was noticeable, there's an article on the front page today if you want to read it, on the consumer discretionary. You know, I'm seeing more and more people talk about this sector as a harbinger of bad things. They're not looking at this though. They're looking at the XRT. And the XRT, if you go look inside it, not what the article is about, the XRT is heavily weighted in the apparels, right? I mean, the majority of the weighting of this particular sector is in the apparels. So to look at this and just assume that the consumer's dead is probably not an accurate picture. As a matter of fact, I know it's not an accurate picture, and that was what this article was about. So you might want to read that if you want. So the XLY doesn't look that bad. It's still in a bullish trend. It's struggling though. It is struggling, and that I will grant you. But I think it's a little premature to just assume the consumer's dead. XLV holding right at the highs. So a lot of strength here. A lot of this is biotech, big pharma. Those guys are all strong. If we look at the ox markets real quick, over there we got we had dollar trying to move higher today, but it didn't really get going. Let's see what the volumes look like on it. Well, I should say trying to move lower. I said higher. This is hanging. It's still going to try to work a little bit higher. It doesn't look bad at all. Let me see what the FXE did. Did the FXE fell on the highs again? $35.11. Yeah, that's nothing. Those are just range trading. I saw the Aussie got hammered today. I suspect that the market in Australia went up today as a result of it. So the Aussie is down here breaking swing point lows. Alright, so what do we got here? We got this swing point lows got 88.24 and 317 on it. You did 262 and you closed just over it. Tomorrow's Friday. This is going to be a big day on the Aussie tomorrow. They break this, they're going to break it on multiple time frames. And they're going to break it with volume on the weekly, and potentially we'll see what this one ends up doing. Potentially you could get volume expansion again tomorrow. I'm sure if you want to look at a market, if you cheapen your currency, we've seen this with Japan, your market is going to go up. So let's go over to the Australian market real quick. And I gotta guess that thing rallied today as a result of it. I don't know what they're doing this evening. They're open by now. Maybe if X is on, he could take a look at it for me. Yeah, spikes right up, right? Devalued currency, you get a spike. And that's what they're doing. Maybe they're not doing it, they being the central bank of Australia, but it's happening. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the ox sector real quick. I want to see gold, silver. I want to see a couple other things while I'm here. So let me see what gold's doing. Actually, let me look at the FXY as well. Gold's just holding there. Still going to try to get higher. It looks like FXY. Oh, and let's look at those bonds too. Nothing here yet. So let's start with the 3 to 7 bonds. Bonds were up again today, bringing rates down. 3 to 7, not much there. Let's see what the 7 to 10s look like. Same thing. And I think the TLT, so the long end of the curve is the one that's catching the bid. This will be a big test tomorrow. This looks bullish. It still looks bullish. It's going to test this high and see if it can get over it. Okay, so if you look at this, you've got an ABCD structure here that it completed, right? Over completed. Then it came back down, set up another one now, potentially, right? If it gets over that one, it's got another one to take it all the way back up to this higher high. Let me pull this over. Actually, let me just grab this one and pull it over. All right? I'll just stick this one on the weekly for a second. I want to leave these bigger so you can see them better. So this price point is 106.67, and the bottom is 106.17. So 17 is 67, and 102, that's about 3, yeah, takes you right up there, 106.93. So that would take you, 106.93 would take you up into that area, right in here, which is on the weekly where the resistance zone is. So that would, I don't think most people are expecting that, but then again, most people expected this thing to break down. I certainly did, and it didn't, and we talked about that a few shows back, that you know, if you can't break it down, folks, you're going to flip it around and go the other way, right? And that's what they did. Okay, let's take your questions. So let's see what we got over here. CCE. This, I think this is Federico's favorite stock now. So let's go see what CCE is doing. This is Coca-Cola Enterprises. And let me get it in here so we can take a look at it. So when you take a look at it, I'm still holding this position. I was asking what Australia is doing tonight. X is asking me over here on the live stream what I was looking for. If you can pull up a quote for me and see if it's up or down, I bet it's up. So CCE, I wouldn't bet you though. So you might take my money, X. So that came down. When do these guys report, Federico? Do you know? This still looks fine. I don't know what was pulling it so hard this morning. It tested on lighter volume, so that still looks fine to me. Yeah, still looks okay. One nice thing about it is when it starts doing these kinds of things, it gives you markers, right? So you get a wide price spread bar here. You didn't get volume on it, but you get another marker. So now, you know, if I'm trading this thing, what I'm doing is looking at this right here now, right? Because now I got another marker to trade off of. You know, it gives me another area to consider as what should be support, right? Because if they take it down with a big tail, leave a tail like that, that says somebody came here and bought it right there. Somebody thinks it's a bargain at that price. And when I talk about somebody, it's somebody with enough money to move it. Yeah, it could be a bunch of little folks, but I doubt it. It's usually, you know, larger institutions, somebody that has money that wants to put it in there, right? And they get a cheaper price, they jump on it. You know, and that's, you know, think about what's happening. You got institutions, they want to buy 1 million shares, whatever their number is. Okay? They're not going to buy it all in a day. It ain't the way it happens, right? They're going to set aside X amount of dollars that they want to put into this thing, and anytime they get dips, they're going to buy them. That's the way they do it. That's the way they build out their line, right? And take, you know, get the large position they want. And that's the sort of action you see when that happens. That, you know, to me, that's what's happening. So I think you're fine there. I don't see anything wrong with it. Go-Go. Let's see what Go-Go looks like. Australia. Hey, I'm glad I didn't bet y'all. Y'all would have took my money. Australia down 0.46, down 0.5%. So is the Aussie down tonight? Excuse me, up tonight? If anybody can get a quote on that, I'd be curious. I could probably give you a quote on that one. Here, let me just pop over here and look. The Aussie is flat, basically, down 0.11%. So much for my my betting. All right, so what's the question here on Go-Go? Go-Go is it a buy on a daily and a weekly? Let me pull this over so everybody can see the weekly. Okay, so this is a relatively new issue, right? And Go-Go is an XLK technology. I'm not sure what they do. I'd have to look it up. But this is harder. This is harder. I don't like the way this looks. I don't like this big volume bar coming back in here to test. Now this week, right? Tomorrow's the last day. This week is okay. You're probably going to get a bounce out of here. But you know, look at your volume bars coming down on these big down days, right? I think your resistance is up in here somewhere, right, on the way back. Certainly it's here where we already have it marked, but it's going to be even up here. In other words, if I were looking for a target, I think a stretch target, you know, a target would be here, my first target at most, and the stretch target would be up into here. Now that's a pretty good percentage if you hit it right, But I don't like the way this looks. I don't like when sellers are hitting this thing. Again, look at the volumes here. So if I look at this one, that bar down's got 6.5 million. You're hitting your gap up area that had 5.9. So you're hitting it with more volume as you're coming back. Now the fact that you're in a gap, you'll get a bounce more than likely out of here. And the good thing about it from a risk-reward perspective is you don't have to hardly give it anything, right? You just take that bottom, you try to buy it right down in here somewhere, and you put a stop right up underneath it. You just don't give it anything. And you got a good shot for a bounce. So yeah, it's a trade. Is it a hold, an investment? No, I don't think so. It doesn't look right. That's it. So do we have, so what do we have? We got a couple minutes here. So what do we have, right? Let's talk about, I always try to close it up with some sort of wrap-up thought about what tomorrow is. Tomorrow's option expiration. You got some earnings in the morning. You got the Fed next week. If I go back and pull up, let me go grab the general markets. And I pull up the S&P 500. This is, the S&P is the benchmark. Right? You got to always remember the S&P is the benchmark. Everybody has to measure themselves against the S&P come the end of the year. So the S&P is always on everybody's mind. This is the granddaddy. We can look at other indexes, but this is the one everybody has to measure against. That top, 1849.44. We got over it yesterday, failed on price but not volume. We got the 1850.84. Today, we hang. We're sitting right there. We're looking for a reason to get over it. End of the week, 3 weeks in, what do you think they're going to do? The setup is here. The setup is here to push this thing higher tomorrow. That's the setup. Look for earnings, look for something to give them an excuse. Maybe it's just the way options come in. Who knows? I'd be very surprised if they don't try to push the top tomorrow and break this thing out, close it that way, suck some more of that money in, right? That's what you're always trying to do. It's all about news flow. If everybody sees that the market's going to go up in 2014, they don't want to stay behind, right? They can't sell. They got to buy. Got to get the news flow. Expect a push. Folks, thanks a lot. Have a great night. We'll see what they do tomorrow. I'll see you Sunday. We'll pick it all up and do it again. Have a great night. Take care of yourself. Until then, this is your daily TA wrap. Have a great one. Good night, everybody.